Good afternoon, Powell family, and welcome to Restore and Rewind. For today, you are going to need a blanket, 2 bricks, and a foam roller. So make sure you have those on hand. And we are actually going to start with a chest opener. So you'll need both of your yoga bricks to start. We are going to place them at the back of our mat. So imagine if you were laying on your mat where your shoulder blades would be. You're going to place one brick on its mid setting, running parallel with the long edges with your short edges of your mat. And then the brick behind it is going to be on the same setting, but running perpendicular with that brick. And that's going to be just for your head. So then whenever you're ready, you might need to adjust the bricks depending on where it goes. The one that's closest to you, we're going to place right at the bottom of the shoulder blades. So make sure you're not on the actual rib cage, but you're actually supporting the shoulder blades only. The ribs have nothing touching them. And then maybe you have to bring the other brick closer in or further apart. But then you're going to relax the back of the head onto that brick. Legs can be whatever's comfortable. You can keep them bent. I like crisscross, but whatever you prefer. The arms are going to extend straight out from the shoulders. So you start to feel the chest opening and allow the shoulders, the chest, the lats to kind of wrap around these bricks beneath you. You can close the eyes, keep them open, whatever feels good. Just keep letting gravity melt you closer and closer to the floor, finding more and more space through the chest and the front body. And once you feel really supported with the props, I invite you just to try to find as much stillness as you can to allow the fascial tissue to start to open up, for the muscles to stretch. And especially after all the hard work between Monday and Tuesday, the chest needs a little extra attention. So make sure as you're laying here that you're not shrugging the shoulders or putting tension in the upper body. So if you notice that, can we just try to find a little more softening through the shoulder? Take just a couple more breaths here. And then slowly start to bring the hands closer to the body. Use the hands next to the hips to start to lift yourself up, tucking the chin to the chest, and then pressing yourself all the way up to sit. And releasing. Go ahead, then you can set your bricks off to the side or the front for now. We're going to stay with the chest with the foam roller. So go ahead and grab your foam roller. Coming onto the belly. We're going to place the foam roller right next to the chest. So right in between the actual muscle and where the arm comes together. Other hand is just going to be resting on the floor. And then we gently roll from the pec almost to the bicep. Maybe you just are rolling from one hip to the other hip. And if the chest is really sore, this might be kind of intense. If the foam roller is too much, you can always do this with one of those dodge balls, like a tennis ball. Really focus on targeting through that pec muscle right on the outside of it, right above and in front of the armpit. And then find that spot that feels a little extra tender and just hold. Breathe. Allow the muscle to start to release, to decompress. And then slowly come all the way onto the belly. Just slide the foam roller out, putting it off to the front. Keep the arm exactly as it is, making sure it's extended from the shoulder, not in line with your rib cage or above the shoulder. Make sure the arm comes flush with the floor, and we're going to go into a yoga pose scorpion. So bending the right knee, we're going to gently roll onto that left hip. If you can bring the right foot to the earth, go ahead. If that doesn't feel comfortable, just keep your hips square to the right side of the room and stack the legs. The takeover expression is going to help you open through the chest. Take another breath here. Wherever you took the right leg, slowly start to release, bringing it all the way back to its side, coming onto the belly. We have just one more stretch on this side. We're going to cactus shape the right arm. So make sure the elbow is somewhat in line with the shoulder and the wrist in line with the elbow. So we've got these little 90-degree bends happening. Then the setup is going to be the same as scorpion, except for the upper part of the arm is not flush with the earth. And then gently start to roll to your fullest expression, and you should feel it pretty intensely through the chest. Making sure to go to your fullest expression, knowing that stretches should not be causing extreme pain, but they might also not be very comfortable. So focus on the breath. Notice the chest opening, lengthening, stretching. And then slowly roll onto the belly. And we're going to do that whole thing on the other side. So we start with the foam roller right underneath the left chest. You just have to roll over. I'm going to rotate this way so I don't have my back to you the whole time. So making sure it's right at that chest. And then just gently roll on and off, really targeting the muscle. Using the left hand to find that lift to roll onto it and pressing into the hand to release. And then again, just find that place that maybe needs a little extra. You feel it pretty intensely. And then breathe. Take one more breath here, and then slowly release. Use your left hand to slide that foam roller out. Keep the right arm extended, and then flush it with the floor. We're going to go into that scorpion again. So bending the left leg this time. Gently roll either onto the hip, stacking the legs, or bringing the left foot to the earth behind the right leg. Making sure the entire right arm is rounded into the mat. Feeling the opening through the chest and into the shoulder. And then slowly roll back onto the belly. Leave that right arm extended, but now bending at the elbow. practice shaping that arm. The forearm is grounded, but the bicep and tricep is floating. Rebend the left knee and roll back onto that side. Stretch more through. And knowing that the left leg is just acting basically as a weight to pull you deeper. So if keeping it bent and floating, if it doesn't leave the floor, it's not comfortable, just stack the legs. Take one more breath here, and then slowly release, going back onto the belly. Slide both hands under the shoulders to lift yourself up. We're going to take both of our yoga bricks to the top of our mat on their highest setting. Let the hands come onto the bricks. Walk the knees back just so you can sit into child's pose with straight arms, so make any adjustments you might need. And then once the arms are straight and you're sitting back towards the hips, the heels rather, let the head fall past the biceps. This is our last big chest stretch. And again, just like we did before, make sure we're not shrugging and pulling the shoulders up towards the ears, pull them down away. And just breathe. And then take the gaze forward between your bricks, and then rounding the spine, come all the way back up. Okay, we're done with the chest. We're going to transition into the hip flexors and the psoas muscles. So we're going to start with the foam roller. If you don't have a foam roller at home, no worries. Your yoga bricks will work just fine. You're going to place it right at the center of your mat. So when we roll over onto it, it's actually sitting right on your not your sits bones, sorry, those are right here. Your hip flexors or your hip bones. Make sure it's not on the low abdomen or on the pelvis, but it's actually right on those hips. So you might need to make any adjustments. And then you can cactus shape the arms, or you can just stack the hands and let the forehead rest on the forearms. But allow the body to just start to melt into that foam roller. Feeling it in the hip bones, the hip flexors. Allowing it to decompress. If the hips are really tight, make sure you're not shrugging in the shoulders to kind of counter. Relax the upper body. Take another breath here. And then keep everything as it is except for the upper body. Come up onto the forearms. You're going to tuck your toes under to lift the thighs, and then just foam roll right on those hip bones. So it's only like 1 inch. It's not a big movement. And again, just make sure we're not on the pelvis or on the low abdomen. Make sure we're actually on the tissues. We're not into the muscles. One more here, and then slowly release. So let the knees melt, untuck the toes, walk yourself back up, and set your foam roller onto the side. We're going to come into like yoga, almost like a lizard, but we're going to let the bricks frame the foot. So I'll rotate this way so you can see. So the bricks are going to be on their highest setting. We'll start with the right foot. So bring the right foot right between the bricks. And then you want to make sure your left leg is behind the hip, not directly beneath it. So now that you see how the brick should be, I'll rotate this way. So you want to have a good amount of space between the right heel and the left knee. Keeping the hands onto the brick. Slowly start to lean the weight forward, like you're driving the knee towards the toes, but that hip is coming along for the ride. So you should feel this pretty intensely through that hip flexor. Just again, a reminder, make sure you're not shrugging, relax the shoulders. The hands are just here for support. And just notice if you're starting to rotate that left hip open. If you are, let's pull the left hip forward and draw the hip back so the hips are square to that front edge of your yoga mat. So when you sit a lot throughout the day, these muscles can get really, really tight because they're constantly being compressed. They don't normally get to take up space. So if this feels really intense, it's okay. It's just because your occupation kind of forces the body to compress in the front body. So if you can, throughout the day, just take time to take up space to the front body. Allow those muscles to stay long. Take one more breath here. And then slowly release, coming out. Keep the legs where they are. Keep sitting back until your right leg is straight. You can walk your bricks back so they're underneath the shoulders. Pull the toes up towards the ceiling. Start to feel the stretch going up the back side, your posterior chain, and then fold over. So rather than pressing the back of the knee to the floor to find more length and straightness through the leg, imagine you're trying to pull the thigh up towards the hip to find more length in the upper body to drape over the leg, and that'll deepen your hamstring stretch. And then slowly shift the weight back forward. We're gonna set up for single pigeon. So you have a couple options here. Last week we did it with the leg on the bricks, which makes it a little more intense. If that didn't feel good for you last week, don't worry about it. But if you wanna go there again, opening the outside of the hip, you'll stack your bricks on their lowest setting. We're gonna take the right foot to the outside of the bricks, or if you're not using the bricks, you're just taking the right foot to the left edge of your mat. Then we're gonna drape the shin bone so it's parallel with that front short edge of the mat. So right knee is towards the right side of the mat, right foot is to the left. Walk onto those hands. Start to feel the opening through the outside of your right hip. And if you want to stay lifted, whether your leg is on the bricks or on the earth, you can stay on the hands, or we can slowly start to work onto the forearms. Just striving to keep the hips really square and that shin bone running as parallel as your body will allow to the front of the mat. But just take a scan of the body, and if any point is not suiting you, we can bring the right heel closer to the left hip, taking out some of that parallelness with the front. You can ditch the bricks if you're using them, or we can digress and come back up onto the hands. Take one more breath here. And then gently walk yourself back up. Leaning, if you're on the bricks, into the right foot to slide them out. If you're not on the bricks, you can just sit off onto the hip and sweep that back leg around. So bringing the bottom of the feet together, pull the heels as close to your pelvic floor as you can. Interlace the fingers around the toes, let the knees melt towards the floor. Try to find a nice long lifted spine and then fold towards the arches of the feet. You want to make sure the hinge is coming from the hip, just like in a deadlift. So make sure we're not rounding, but that we're finding that nice hip hinge, grounding the knees to the earth. And it's okay still if the knees are up really high. You just want to focus on stretching through that hip flexor. So again, don't care so much about how the pose looks, but rather how it feels. So make any adjustments you need to feel that stretch through the inner thighs and through the hip. slowly start to lift up. We're going to do the outside of the hip. So for me, I was on my leg. That's where it was in single. My leg was, if by any on the left, that's fine. We're going to foam roll whatever leg you in the single pigeon. So I'm going to take that foam roller underneath my right glute, staying on my forearm. My right leg will be extended, left leg is bent, just to give me some extra support, and then roll through the outside of that hip, exactly where you were stretching when you were in pigeon. The hips get a lot of hate in this program. We do a lot of lunges, a lot of jumping, a lot of squats. So make sure you give them some love. Your glutes are also your biggest muscle group, so sometimes we forget about them and we just keep working and working. But they need some love. And then find that spot just like we did in the chest. It might be a little more intense when you stop on this specific spot, and then just gently rock the body weight side to side. Just like if you're getting a massage when they really dig into that knot, it's the same sensation. Foam rolling is just like getting a deep tissue massage. It does the same stuff to your fascia and to your muscles. If you notice, maybe there's a pretty big knot in the glute, maybe you want to just kind of hold it and breathe to let it start to release. Maybe you feel kind of okay, you want to stick with the rock or with the rolling front to back. Just do what you need to release this tightness through the glutes. Obviously, holding in one place is going to be the most intense. Just keep breathing, relaxing in the upper body. One more deep breath, and then slowly release. And we're going to do the whole thing on the left leg. So setting your bricks back up at their highest setting towards the top of the mat. This class goes by so fast I can't even handle it. Step the left towards the bricks. Make sure that right knee is behind the hip. So again, you have a good amount of space between the heel and the knee. Take a nice deep inhale, and as you exhale, start to push the weight forward as you lift your chest towards the sky. So make sure we're not just leaning forward and keeping everything lower. You won't really feel that so much. You want to find lift from that hip as you keep deeper and deeper. So keep lifting the chest and keep imagining where right hip, toes, until you nice big flexor. Courtney, stop planning what you're having for dinner. And Heather fell asleep. She loves class too much. That's Heather, Cindy, Courtney, I think Lisa, that one. Yogi, so I know yoga. Take here. You can walk too, but we're going to sit until the left leg. Pull the toes up towards hinging from, draw the thigh up to the hips, and then fold in the upper body. Feel a big stretch there without putting any pressure on the knee. Raise the shoulders. Take another breath. And slowly bend the leg back. single pigeon. Mirror whatever you did side, but then notice if one side you bricks on this side, it does not feel good. Just feel free to ditch it and just do what feels good on that. We talk about evening out the body a lot in yoga, but sometimes one side of the body is just not feeling it. So we also kind of have to honor that. So once you get yourself set up, you feel that big stretch to the outside of the hip. Hips are nice and square to the front short edge of your mat. Then find your deepest expression. Maybe you stay on the hands, maybe you come up to the forearms. Take another breath here, and then slowly work your way. And if you're not on the bricks, you can just sit off to that hip. If you are, just slide them and then sit onto that hip, sweeping the back leg around. It's more through your butterfly stretch. Pull the heels as close to your pelvic floor as your hips will allow. Interlace the hands. We're going to take the thumbs to the inside of those arches and then start to actually manipulate the bottom of the feet to face the ceiling like you're opening up a book. Take your nice deep inhale and then hinging from the hips, fold over. So if you have really tight ankles, this might be hard. The feet might be back together. So keep using the hand or opening the ankle. Excuse me. And bring the feet, slowly roll it back up. I want to do smaller on the left hip. So take it underneath the glute. Keep the right leg bent, you're onto the forearm, and then we roll through the muscle. And then again, find that spot that might be a little extra tight. You feel like a little knot. Hold, breathe. Gently rock side to side, trying to decompress it more and more. And then you can take the option to keep going side to side, rolling, or maybe you just hold and breathe, especially if you have a really tight spot. Take another breath, and then slowly release. Okay, we're going to transition into feet and ankles. So this can be kind of intense. So some people, especially the ankles, like to just have some bricks that they can push into rather than having their hands on the floor. So maybe just have them handy in case you kind of want to use them as a prop. But we're going to sit with our toes untucked. So your feet are on the shoelace part of the foot. Your thigh femur bones are running parallel. So if you notice the legs are kind of rotating outwards, bring them so the thigh bones are running parallel. We're going to lift the knees and stretch the front of the ankle. So we're just going to press to the shoelace part of the feet to lift your knees up until you feel that stretch through the front of the ankles. So if you notice that this is really intense, the front of the ankles are really tight, you might want to try it with the yoga bricks. Having the hands up a little higher lets you use your upper body a little bit more. Breathe. And then slowly release back down to the earth. Keep the legs exactly as they are, but we're going to flip it. So now we're going to tuck the toes under, and then we're going to sit back up onto those feet. So now we're stretching through the bottom of the feet. And again, you can have those bricks, which will help you kind of take some body weight out of it, or you can just keep sitting onto the heels and finding that big stretch at the bottom of the feet. But if you have like plantar fasciitis or anything like that and it's not comfortable, you feel free to use the bricks. But again, throughout this program, we jump a lot. So the feet and ankles are constantly taking impact. So it's important that we give them. Now this is one of those stretches not feel so yummy. I'm sitting here smiling and talking, but it's intense. So it's okay if you're like, oh my goodness, my toes and the bottom of my foot. Just try to focus on your breath to get you through it. Take one more deep breath here. Then slowly shift the weight forward, release the feet. We're going to go through one more round of each. So untucking the toes onto the shoelace part of the feet. Bringing the hands either onto the bricks, framing that side of the thighs, or just onto the earth. And then lift the knees, squeezing those inner thighs together. Keeping your chest as upright as you can. Relaxing through the shoulders. Take one more breath here. And slowly release it. Toes under, even that little tiny pinky toe, that one's hard for me. It always wants to untuck. So you might have to actually help it tuck. Then sit back onto those heels. And if the bricks are still like not helping and lean forward and take weight out of it, the less intense it's going to be on the feet. So if like you can't handle it, it's too much, the breathing is not helping you get through it, just keep taking more weight out of the stretch. And take one here, and then slowly release. And maybe kind of pedal out whatever you need to release. And then we're going to transition in quadriceps. So we're going to start with the foam roller. We're going to do one leg at a time. So we'll start with the right leg. Bring your foam roller right in front of that right knee. And then we're just going to kind of drape the leg over it, coming onto the forearm. Your left leg can stay like almost in a child pose-like position. But we're going to put the hips and to the floor. Float your right foot. And then you want to roll from the hip all the way to the top of the knee through the quadricep. After all the squats and lunges these past 2 days, this might be a little, so keep coming back to that breath. And then after several with just a neutral ankle, start to rotate the foot in different directions as it will just hit different heads of the quadricep muscle. And then slowly release. Slide that foam roller out from underneath of you. Come onto the belly. This is where if you can't reach back for the foot, you might want your yoga strap. We're going to bend the right foot, reach back for the foot, either grabbing the inside or the out. We're going to pull the heel towards the glute, bending your left arm to make a pillow for the head. And then as much as you can, keep pulling that heel closer and closer to the glute. You feel a big stretch through the front of the thigh. walk ourselves up onto the hands. We're gonna keep the right leg bent, but extend your left leg out to the front, and then sit to the inside of the right foot. So make sure you're not like on the heel, but you're sitting to the inside, so my foot is not underneath the body. Keeping this right knee bent. You might already feel the knee and the quadricep stretching, so if you want to stay lifted, stay lifted. But we're slowly going to work our way backwards. Just make sure at any point if the knee starts to lift off the floor, you stop where you're at, or you slowly come back out. So bringing the hands behind you, we're slowly going to lower onto the forearms. Letting the chest open towards the sky. Feeling that through the quadriceps. And then again, you can always keep working deeper and deeper, maybe coming onto the back. Whatever feels good for you. Just notice if that knee is lifting, you come back up. Maybe if you tried to go onto the back and it wasn't for you, you come onto the forearms. You all look pretty good though. Letting that quadricep open up. Breathe. And then we'll press to the hands to come back up. And release that leg slowly because you were in a big knee hinge. So make sure you don't just sweep it out really quickly. Let the body take a second to adjust. And then we're gonna take the foam roller to the left quadricep. So taking it right above that knee. This microphone wire is getting on my nerves. Come on to the forearms and then roll from the knee to the hip. Can't have it on my pants though, because if I roll on it, it'll turn it off. It'll be like that one time we were doing Pilates and then you guys couldn't hear me. And just like the other side, after several with a neutral ankle, just start to rotate the foot in different directions. I did not realize my quadriceps were so tight until we started rolling on them. Those squats and lunges were easy so far. Oh man, we only have 6 minutes of class left. This class needs to be 90 minutes. So I'll email Mandy after class. 90 minutes, please. You guys need a longer lunch break. Slowly slide that foam roller out, come onto the belly. Again, you can use your strap or the hands, grab the foot. Right hand makes a pillow, pull the heel to the glute. And then gently start to come back up. And we're gonna bend that left leg and lean the right leg, making sure the inside of the left foot. And then making sure we're grounded, slowly start to come onto the forearms. You might notice one side is a little tighter. I cannot go onto my back on my left side. So just honor that and it's okay. Just find your fullest expression for this side. Really feeling the stretch of the quadricep into the knee. Breathe. And know too that you'll feel a good stretch too if you stay up on the hands and you just lean backwards. Like if coming onto the forearms is to that point where it's like it's a little too much, you don't have to come all the way down. You can take the hands behind you and just keep leaning the body weight further and further. Maybe you start to play around coming onto one forearm, keep the other hand up. You'll still feel it a little bit more every time. And the more you do this, the deeper and deeper you'll be able to get into it. And take another breath here. And again, slowly, slowly, slowly start to come up. And very, very slowly release that leg back out long, being very gentle with the joints and allowing the body time to reset. Okay, we made it to our final stretch. This is where you want your blankie. Said it like that on purpose. Let's all go take a nap after this. So when you lay down, you want to make sure that the blanket comes to the top of the shoulders. It's not actually on the shoulders. So maybe make any adjustments you need to make sure it's right at the top. So you notice when you first lay down that the chin is kind of just parallel with the back edge of your mat. So you're going to grab towards the back of your blanket and gently just pull on it until it naturally tucks your chin to the chest. From here, we're going to butterfly shape the legs one last time. So let the bottom of the feet come together and let the knees start to melt towards the floor. So feel that opening through the hip flexors. Maybe it's a little more open now that we've stretched so much. But it's okay still if it's really, really tight. Just without any judgment, acknowledge that, and maybe just more throughout your day. Stand up every so often. Maybe do some simple stretches at your desk to allow the front side of the body time to take up space. Take one more breath here. And then slowly bring the inner thighs together as you pull the knees into the chest. Hug the knees in, releasing anything through the low back. And if this feels really good, you can stay here and gently start rocking side to side. Or if you want, you can reach for the outside edges of the feet and then let the feet come parallel with the ceiling, as long as you can stay grounded through the low back, and start to come into happy baby, gently shifting the weight side to side to massage the back. Making sure we're not adding tension in the upper body to make this reach. If it's too much, you can grab the ankles or the calves and achieve the same thing. Just try to completely release and find relaxation. Remember, today's all about the parasympathetic nervous system. You relax and digest. So we don't want any tension, any stress, any anxiety during this practice. So just breathe and feel the body. Slowly start to come back through center. Release the legs, extending them out long. And then reach your arms overhead. And just like you do in the morning, pull the arms and legs in the opposite directions, building a lot of traction through the body and a lot of length. Exhale, relax. And then one more just like that. Inhale, reach, reach, reach. And then exhale, let your hands come down by your side. Bring one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. We're going to finish today with 5 cleansing breaths. So as you inhale, feel the belly rise through the nose. Exhale, audibly side out. And then 4 more breaths just like that. If you have extra time, I invite you to stay here and to take a shavasana. But if it's time to move on with your day, slowly come up into a seated position in a way and fashion that feels good through your body. And I want to remind you that this type of program is meant to be done 2 times a week with the intensity of the exercises we're doing on the other 3 days. So if you don't want to do today again, we have 2 others. So feel free to try those out. And then until tomorrow, Powwow family, be well.